Welcome to another Sunday Q&A. I'm here to answer questions and talk about Homelab and servers and all the things I talk about on my channel in a more free form. I've debated about calling these, but I don't think they would get the right attention, or maybe they would, like free tech support. I don't mind answering all the questions, and essentially it's kind of like tech support. I like helping people out. I love interacting with all of you, the audience. These are just kind of fun. Let's see. So we have a couple. Is this a question or a statement? Let's read this one here. I've got a fun one. About a week ago, my pfSense VM WAN stopped getting a public DCP address from my cable modem. It will pull a modem private 192 for a few seconds and then go triple zeros. So it sounds like your upstream provider changed something. Modem and WAN, the only two things on their own VLAN, has worked great for years. No recent config change or updates. Layer 1 through are good because it's pulling a temp ADI from the modem. Yeah, I'm guessing your upstream provider changed something. I don't know what they changed, but that would be my assumption, is that they changed something. It's a guess. I don't know this for some certainty. That is definitely a challenging one. Lab is a Proxmox cluster on 4 Mac Minis. Switches are Cisco Small Business. Yeah, so I've had problems with the cable providers more than once, where they've just goofed with things. This is a fun question here. This is a topic that I think is in and out. I'm not someone, but my wife is someone who does investments. My wife does my investments. Do you follow stock and networking companies? Ubiquiti stock is down 75%. Do you think the future of Ubiquiti is bleak? Do you personally invest in this space? The answer is I let my wife do it because I don't want to think about it. Let's see, UBIQUITI stock price, and let's look at them over 5 years. Just because it's a fun topic, and they're down now a lot from where they were, and it sometimes is the writing of a market. So they jumped up here, 109. This is 2020, $180 all the way back to 122, 153. And then we see them really going crazy here, pushing 400, and then they just wander back down the cliff here. There's been a lot of adjustments made to companies based on what they think their market saturation is, also depending on the positions of the CEOs and how much buyback they do. So, I mean, it's interesting to watch, but they've had like a good run. I don't think the problem is, this is very much the problem. When you are trying to judge a company by their stock price, you're actually just feeling public sentiment about them. And if you look at the fact that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, their CEO is still their far majority shareholder, as in, they're so far away from being delisted. I mean, their current market cap right now, because they're down from 323. Their 52-week high was 323. Their 52-week low was 104, and are currently trading at 106. So they're at the low side of things, but they still have a market cap of $6 billion, a finally bouncing back of inventory in stock. They might be down now, but they're not the only, hardware delivery company that's down. The other side of it too is the popularity of their product can't be denied. They're selling things good and they're making margin. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. So I don't know. I don't think that's too big of a deal on it. Matter of fact, it might not be. I don't know. I don't want to start saying financial advice, but who knows if it's time to buy or not. It's kind of a maybe. When I ran a forbidden router, I passed the WAN NIC directly to pfSense. Now that's a better idea right there. Passing the network card through solves most of the problems you run with running a virtualized system like that. When I enable Squid proxy on pfSense, the latency on WAN gets really bad, and the internet will randomly cut out. Is there a way to restrict the bandwidth? I just don't recommend Squid. Matter of fact, there's been so many flaws recently found in Squid. There's just a lot of bugs in it. I just avoid it. It's a headache. It's never a good experience. You can do other ways you can do traffic shaping on there, but generally I stay away from squid because of the headache that is squid. Thanks for the chat and live help. Hey, glad you're here. A little late. Cowboys game is breaking my heart. Well, hopefully I'm more entertaining than a Cowboys game, but that's a tall bill. That's a lot of people like the footballs. Their football team, right? I don't know. I don't follow any sports, so I have no idea. My ISP changed my LAN back to 192.168 because for Spectrum Small Business, I need to use their router to obtain a static IP. Comcast actually made some changes. So this is a little while ago. I think this was a couple of years ago, at least in my area. You have to buy a Comcast to have multiple IPs, like a block of IPs. They would only give, and maybe they changed it again, if you wanted to use your own modem, you weren't going to get any more than one IP in their business class one. And maybe they changed it. It could be that they just force you to use it all the time. But yeah, it's kind of annoying. I don't think Ubiquiti did a split. I sold my stock UI when it was in the 300s. Hey, if you bought it below the 300s, this is what I do know about the stock market. Buy it low, sell it high. There's some real stock advice. If you could just figure out how to buy it at a cheap price and sell it at a bigger price, I think that's how you win. Why do you want to proxy outside connections? That's the part I don't understand. That's the first question is, what are you trying to accomplish? And I see somewhere along here we have thank you, Dakota. So the bearded IT dad, if you don't know who Dakota is, he's got some videos out there. Good stuff. Talks a lot about the IT career world. Cisco's been a dominant player in networking space by leaps and bounds. It seems every large company has been challenged by a newcomer. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's ups and downs. So let's look at the I just want to point this out to people. Hey, look at Cisco, who's also had some ups and downs. So $30 a share, $65 a share, back down to $37 a share. So you're watching other companies very similar, this rise in 2021 and kind of a decline in 2023. So a lot of things are down when the market's down by, I guess. I don't know. I'd rather talk about tech things. I mean, that is kind of a tech thing. So I'm sure it's been asked before. Is it beneficial to put cameras and IoT devices on their own VLAN? I'm running PFSense Ubiquiti hardware with Orbeez in AP mode. I generally would recommend cameras and IoT on their own VLAN. It's one of those things that people overstate. So I don't think you're in imminent peril. It is not like the end is near if you had your cameras on there. Do we trust these cameras? I don't know. Here's the other thing. What is the attack surface of being on their same network? You know, if you have a firewall on your Windows or Linux computer or Mac that you have attached to your network, what is the likelihood that there is some nefarious thing going on in one of these cameras where it will try to do something? It's not an impossibility, but it is a chance. This is why we would prefer, if possible, to segregate them to other sides. So it is a better best practice to put your IoT things in the IoT side of it and keep your business network. And an easy example is going to be, I will admit, I have not changed the password on this Bly KVM. It is admin to log in. Someone could hack if they were on the same network as this Bly KVM that I've got pulled up here. They could certainly take it over. Don't know if that would happen or not, but hey, it could. So it's better if you didn't have them on the same network. Then you don't have to worry about it as much. I can leave admin, and I'm not worried about this getting attacked. Your business network blocks apt updates on certain networks, and I need to proxy apt. Use an external proxy. I wouldn't use proxy on your WAN. I don't understand. I still not understanding how you want to do that. You could use a VPN so you could get out to a network beyond where it's being monitored. So that's really confusing as to how, because if they're blocking it, how do you get it to WAN? If you have control with a public IP address, I don't understand what's blocking it. If you want one RP from my company, by the way, the bearded IT dad, he also works in IT at an ISP. So yes, he's got a lot of knowledge on this topic. No matter how little sports matter to you, don't tell us you aren't sure if the Dale's Cowboys are a football team. Got it. As long as all the teams have fun. I have a single IP and a Comcast and use my own modem. It has worked great for 3 years. So cool. They still allow it. Want to move my website to locally hosted? Any YouTubers you recommend? I don't really know who's done videos on setting up locally hosted websites. I don't really have an easy answer there. 8 gig symmetrical fiber. Oh, I'm going to upload everything from your house, dude. What would a good proxy solution to cache OS updates for a small number of computers on a network with a slow connection? I don't know. I don't know what's good anymore for that. Though that I don't have an answer for. Usually, if you're talking about Windows updates, you just want to cache them with the Windows Update server. So you don't really need to do anything at the firewall. You can have the WSUS server running that pulls the updates and then distributes them to other systems on there. That's probably the more practical answer. I have no control over the waitlist on the sites that can be reached, so the proxy allows update the prox knows and get around that. Yeah, I mean, really don't know, man. I've not set up Squid Proxy and had a good experience, but I mean, there are tools for apt cache that might be a better option. I just don't understand exactly how you have control at the WAN level to run a proxy, but don't have control to set up you have control to set up Squid, but not control over the waitlisting that goes in front of it. So I don't know how Squid gets you around it any better. So, but there is apt cache tools out there. So that would seem like it'd make more sense. pfSense and a Raspberry Pi. No, it's not going to happen because it doesn't support that architecture. Just set up a new XCV hosting, use Windows Update tools, and install guests on server, 22 VM, XOA NIC, card IP address, display, shutdown, restart from XOA works. But management agent not detected, shown in general VM, ran Windows Update, rebooted, VM host has no change. You have to load the Citrix management agent for that to work. That's the solution to that. Matter of fact, that's what I was kind of in the middle of doing when I was jumping on this. Is I got to connect our system. So this is share this tab. I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm actually connecting another server. Let's get it connected real quick. So we're going to run updates while we're doing this. So Ace Magic. There you go. Connect. Oops, wrong one. 142. Set an IP address later. There we go. Another Ace. This is going to be the Ace. There we go. Set the pool name. Did I set the pool names? Yep, Ace Intel. Ace Dash. There we go. I got to load some updates on the host. So the 36 patches. We can load them manually. Let's load them manually. Let's show people loading patches, what it looks like, which is not that interesting. I know it's going to be small. All you do is say yum update and yes, and it's going to load them all. That's what it does in the background. Do you know how ISPs are applying statics to their routes, not their modems spoofing? That's going to be a good question from Bearded IT Dad to answer in a more articulate way. Using Homelab as a proxy destination to get around a limitation. You might want to post to my forums what you're trying to do, or just ask in a Proxmox forums the best way to cache the updates. Might help someone after many beers of troubleshooting and figured out pfSense Plus was not pulling a WAN IP, but while pfSense was, same configs, weird. FortiGuard broke today because of daylight change. That's fun. Any advantage is setting ISP to static by IP, the cable provider for a home network, or will it make it less secure? It's not about security if you have a static IP from your cable provider. It's more about, the rules that you have on your firewall. I mean, unless you're worried about someone DDoSing you, that's less of security. It's more of an annoyance issue. Like if someone finds your public IP and it's static, people go, "Oh, look, I can go annoy you," and start doing a DDoS. That is kind of a somewhat of a security risk, more of an annoyance problem. I have an old Zen server set up for VMs. I have thought about going Proxmox or XCP&G. An internal web app for our company is Ruby on Rails web-facing access to reverse proxy. I like XCP&G. It's that's mine partial too, but I mean, Proxmox is good. There's nothing wrong with Proxmox. Ooh, this is a good question for the Bearded IT Dad if he's still in the comments here. What's a good first cert for infrastructure consultant looking to pivot into security? All of your security certs, I am, because I have none, I'm not going to be the most articulate on that. So I'm probably not the best person to ask, but do reach out to Cody. That is exactly something he knows a lot more about than I do. Same with John Hammond. I'm not sure which ones are the best. I don't know if it's like the CISSP. I'm also not up to date on all of them. So I guess I need to clarify to Squid is that my Homelab and Proxmox nodes are inside my work on secure networks. I don't have control over what's inside the store. Yeah, but I don't completely understand how I guess you're trying to cache it at your local place. I would just set up an apt cache at your work, tunnel out to your home to pull the data to an apt cache, and then the apt cache could distribute to the Proxmox nodes. I believe Proxmox actually has a there's an article because this got pointed out before. There's a whole Proxmox of even how to update it without an internet connection, how to bring the updates in. But because it runs Debian, you should be able to run a Debian cache. It should work. That's my guess. Old Checkpoint hardware. Is old Checkpoint hardware running x86? If it does run x86, that's the requirement for pfSense. It doesn't like ARM systems. Singapore has 10 gig fiber. That is awesome. The issue is that after getting gig switchgear and router costs go through the roof, you can get some decent 2.5 stuff, but faster is expensive. Yes. I have a NetGate 2100, 2 ISPs, and a UniFi switch. Do I plug the ISPs into the switch or the back of the NetGate 2100? You would want to plug them in the WAN of the 2100. So maybe I'm not understanding your question. Pull an image up. The problem is if you have 2 ISPs, that there's only one WAN port. There's a guide, I think, on playing with the VLANs to get this to work. So you can take one of these and switch it. The 2100 is really not the ideal one for having dual ISPs. But generally, the ISP is going to plug into the WAN. I believe you can reconfigure one of the 2100 ports to be a secondary connection. Thanks for the tip on sync things. Super easy. Looking forward to seeing an updated video. Yes, there's a couple of things that came to sync thing that are going to be really interesting that I want to do an updated video on. I have to build out a bigger demo because I'm not using this right now, but I want to play with it. It's the extended attributes feature that they've added to sync thing that allows it to sync permissions between two locations. Thanks to the device, I'm sure I'll figure it out. The proxy was just an easy way to get around the app to update and solve problems. Was fine until Squid took down my home internet. I almost switched back to OpenSense. Remember that I don't have to mess with stupid stuff on my reverse proxy to work. Yeah. John Hammond, this is something we agree on. John Hammond is really probably, he spends more time very focused narrowly on the cybersecurity space. John is an awesome individual. So yeah, when it comes to getting into cybersecurity, definitely he's going to have better tips on that. Tag him in Twitter. He's not too hard to find or get a hold of. DNS sinkhole server on IoT VLAN. I don't. Well, I have different. I have a camera network that doesn't have anything. It doesn't have internet. My camera network doesn't have internet, but it doesn't need to. My IoT network, I just let it go wherever it's happy going. I don't care about that. I don't try to filter the IoT stuff because it creates silly problems sometimes that I don't want to deal with. It's like one of my friends had this problem too, and I think I had this problem once with my wife. My wife's phone is on the open IoT network essentially because she plays clicker games. And if those clicker games don't work because an ad is blocked, that happens sometimes with the dumb clicker games that she likes. I don't want to hear about it. So I let the IoT network go where it needs to go. ISP will do something either with radius or DHCP. If you can do DHCP, you can do DHCP snooping, bind that address to accept only the genuine IP. Okay. I'm starting to set up Graylog. Not sure how to get TrueNAS scale inputs and log. Any tips? It's really, I'll open up Graylog and show you because it's pretty straightforward. So let's go through here and throw this on the screen. Where's my screen connector? There we go. It's just, it's edit the input. TrueNAS, I created a port. It's port 1522. Then I go to my TrueNAS servers. Hold on. Somewhere in here. Is it under general or advanced? I'm going to go with advanced. There we go. There's the same port again. So 2.7, 1522, and then in Graylog happens to be at 2.7, 1522. Follow my Graylog video on how to get Graylog going with this. But yeah, you just create a port, input data to port. Pretty simple. No, you cannot get different rules per interface. That doesn't really work very well in there. I think Debian does have some DVD repositories you can use either. As well, not either, as well. Follows your advice in RMM, EDR, Zoros, hybrid staff. Still PF sent the office, PF Blocker Quad 9. Thanks. Awesome. I'm glad that works for you. That's the important part. Is all works for you. You know how to use it. That's awesome. First round, I should have said this. Security Plus is probably this isn't the obvious answer. So thank you for that answer. I would say Security Plus is probably a good one to start with, just to get your basics down. And that I'm also though, I don't have any certs, so I like to bring that up. That that's what makes me less of an expert on it. I haven't taken a test for a certification ever. So I'm not an expert on especially modern ones. I've seen the test for the ones 20 years ago, but I haven't done a modern cert in forever or really looked at one. See. People talking about OpenSense. PF Sense 10 gig build recommendations. Honestly, I mean, I should do a video on this because it's such a weird question. I don't understand. I don't understand why people think they need a lot to do it. Netgate A200 here, like this device here, and I'm going to pull it up. The 8200. Where's the specs? There we go. So we have, whoops, an 8 core Atom CPU at 2.4 gigahertz. There we go. For the 8200, it routes 10 gig. Like, it does not take a substantial amount of CPU to route 10 gig. That's just the way things are. So build recommendations for 10 gig. I mean, I recommend the Netgate hardware. If you're going to build it yourself, it does not take a lot of hardware to route 10 gig. So WAN for port ISP1 and opt1 for ISP2. Yes, that is a good answer. For the 3100, that's a good answer on there. But it doesn't. It should be fine. The 3100, it's reached end of sale, I believe. But that was one of my favorite devices they made. That like hit the sweet spot before prices went up. And it's not that they went up for any more reason than supply chain and things like that, which kind of sucked. Syslog G was just fixed. Yes, I filed the bug report on that. There was an extra curly bracket in the config file, so I'm happy that it's fixed. They actually fixed something else too. I'll do an updated video in another week or so. That they fixed a few things. They also are fixing some bugs about, what was it? Something with the encryption. I seen a point release for it, but they also fixed the min IO. They actually updated it so it has a certificate. That's what I was told. I don't know if it does or not yet. I haven't tested it, but I was told that's fixed as well. I work for a school IT department. We've been moving identity providers such as Oksa and ClassLink for their SSO and rostering. It seems like a trend. You know, moving to identity providers. Yeah, the Okta one. I don't know. Okta's had a lot of incidents, obviously. So that's the thing. But the other side is I get the need for central identity management. Like, I understand the demand for it, for simplifying things. But thank you very much for the donation. Thank you for your videos. Do you play with OpenSSL and PFSense? Any plans to do a video on it? What would I do with OpenSSL and PFSense? I don't understand what the question is. Do I play with OpenSSL and PFSense? I would say that, OpenSSL is part of the VPNs I use. So in a way, I need a more specific question, I think. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, yes. So even the way my home network works, the labeling, if you will, that I use, will log into my network because I'll pull up the interface assignments on here. See, I have my, make it bigger. There we go. We have the not safe for work LAN. Where do you think my wife's phone is? And the IoT devices. LTS Tom, that's where I'm at. PIA VPN, that's where some things go. I have a WireGuard VPN. That actually goes out to my other lab that I have. There's going to be, this has got to be moved around. I'm swapping some lab stuff around, but yeah, I keep a WireGuard tunnel up. So my lab that's not here, I have remote access to it. That's just always on. That way I have two labs. I have some things here at my studio and some things in at the business building. So I always have access to them. Greetings from Seattle. Absolutely. Why do you need a 10 gig router? Why not layer 3 switches? Why are people routing their storage? Almost every time someone tells me, "Oh, I really need 10 gig," and then they tell me they're routing their storage, I'm like, why aren't the things you're trying to access on the same LAN? I mean, I know there's some exceptions, and it's better to use just routing, not firewall, if you need them to be broken down to subnets. But yeah, 10 gig route does not need any powerful hardware. IPS DPI requires CPU. Any FIPS recommended firewalls? I mean, you're going to be able to get that from the enterprise companies. I don't really have a particular recommendation. Cisco, Fortinets. We have a handful of clients because they use the FIPS version of Fortinets. So Intel Xeon E5. I would have to look it up. I don't know. Probably the Intel Atoms can do it. So Parallels are going 10 gig is the cost of the switches. Even use enterprise switches are expensive here in the UK. Cards, cables are easy. Yeah, I mean, it's a bumping cost. Yeah, routing 10 gig doesn't take a lot, but once you start filtering and applying firewall rules, it can start bogging down. Absolutely. Let's see here. My Sophos XG E31220 can route at 30 to 40 gigs with IPS enabled, only 45 but with IPS enabled only routes 4 or 5 gigs. Yeah, there's a substantial that traffic inspection has a heavy cost. You don't use MDM to manage wife, kids, mobile device, tablets, mobiles? No, I do not. No interest in it. Make a video for home network users that I think there's another piece of the question. pfSense Blumera tutorial integration. Oh, that would be a really boring video. I will cover that really quickly to show you how boring of a video that would be. You go over here to the I'm logging in now. Some spinning. There we go. Oh, something broke. Oh, certificates expiring. Mark all as red. I don't care. I got some certificates to update. Anyways, let me clear all the errors before I log into this thing. But if you wanted to integrate Blumera into, and I just did a video on Blumera. Here's my Blumera integration. There we go. Just you load the sensor in Blumera, you point the pfSense logs at the Blumera sensor. Done. It's not much else to it. There's not a lot to integrating and shipping all your logs like that. Can you make a video running in best apps and configurations? I mean, I didn't catch what it's for. For TrueNAS, for pfSense. So throw in one more word on there for me. Yeah, I mean, this is a valid use case. The title of this was Homelab, not enterprise networking, but I like talking about enterprise networking. That topic's not off the table. But I think most people asking me about buying a bunch of expensive 10 gig switches usually have some goofy routing things they're trying to do. Running we route VM replication between different data centers over 10 gig links. Absolutely valid reason to route things across there. There are different use cases for it. It's usually not a home user or home lab one. Do you think it helps or hurts pfSense project that new features only get implemented if it comes downstream? I don't understand the question. If new features only get implemented downstream, that's a confession. I'm not understanding it. Yep, just connected PFSense Firewall Blue Mary. Very cool. Awesome. Easy to follow available remote access TrueNAS server files from outside the network. I mean, I did the file manager video. That's probably the easiest one. I did one on TrueNAS's file manager. Going to be probably the easiest way to access your files remotely. Use a VPN or Tailscale. Tailscale is a form of VPN. It's an overlay network, but works like that. What do you think of MikroTik? Have you tried dealing with it, especially for Homelab use? I think MikroTik has a good niche market. It's the learning curve. If you take the time to learn it and deal with the quirkiness of it, it's great. It doesn't manage well at scale unless you're really talented at the command line and learn something like Ansible to manage it. It doesn't have a nice dashboard. This is why UniFi is so popular in the home lab, is they're easy to glue together. It's less of a learning curve. MikroTik is quirky, but that's what you're trading off. You don't get the same nice UI you might get with something like UniFi, but you do get a really inexpensive, good performing device. So I don't think they're a bad device. Jeff from Craft Computing just reviewed one I think is pretty cool. They just released. So yeah, the chat on MikroTik that it's complicated, but it's cheap. Yes, it depends on how you value your time. What happens now with Graylog if you configure remote log server in pfSense to point to Blumera? Well, if you noticed, there's two servers here. Let's zoom in for you. And the second server is the this one is the 1514, 2.7, 1514 is where my pfSense logs go to Graylog. You can ship logs to 2 or 3 places at once in pfSense. Yeah, pfSense can have more than one. Yep. Would you trust MikroTik on the switch WAN for connecting HA routers instead of shared WAN links? Security? No, I would not trust MikroTik on the WAN. I think they make good switches. I think the complexity of their configs lead to the fact that there's an absolute ton of owned MikroTik devices feeding botnets right now. It's not that they can't be secured or whatever. They just seem to have a lot of bugs in them and people not understanding how to configure them, leading to bad security with them. Does running core boot disable out of band management? Generally, no. You want to run an, if you have open VPN, how can I get access to my network on a TrueNAS dashboard? I mean, if you have open VPN, you can just connect over your open VPN connection. You'll be able to get to your local network, provided you set up open VPN. So you go open VPN to your firewall, and then from there, just go to your NAS like you normally would. It's not going to be fast. SMB over VPN is terrible. Why is everyone so anti-VPN? Everyone's something that complicated and requires cloud proxies. I don't get it. A lot of people are stuck behind CGNAT. I know that creates a problem. What would I trust on a WAN side? pfSense and enterprise firewalls. Instead of opening a port for access via Plex, is WireGuard the way to go? Is a better option? WireGuard or OpenVPN? Both of those are really solid options for that. What is the most common use case for a home server, and how does one start the endeavor? You know, I'm going to start saying that Plex question is probably number one. People build a lot of home media servers. It's kind of like your first dipping your toes in the water for what you want to host at home. And I think it makes a lot of sense because the reality is, Netflix ended piracy almost because they had really inexpensive access to a wealth of videos. And then all the companies started making streaming services and the price started going up. And then you can't even figure out where your show you want to watch is anymore. And one season's on one platform, the next season's on the next platform. And you're going, you know what? I'd like to just have this when I want to watch it. So Plex is probably Plex or related, MB, Jellyfin. There's a lot of different media players out there. Seems to be like a pivotal point where people go, I want control over my media again, and I want to be able to watch my media when I want to watch my media. So usually media is your first step into Homelab, but from there it's all the experimentation. I love my news reader. I love all the stuff that I self-host to aggregate data that I get to have. I mean, even for me, all my videos and everything like that, it's all on my TrueNAS and storage servers replicated between them. Site to site Azure VPN with pfSense. Do you know what speed I get over? I would get over a 1.5 gig home internet. I'll be setting this up soon, having some devices. I mean, you can get line speed if you have a fast enough device that can support 1.5 gigs of that. I don't know how fast it is in the cloud. That's a salesperson question. Well, not really. It's a Azure question of how much compute power did you give it in Azure? We have a customer using 2x MikroTik 4 ports, taking between the 10 gig links from us and their firewalls. Loads of problems with SFP problems. Huh? Yeah. I think I'm going to get a Dream Machine just to get running easy and somewhat safe. Oh, go PF Sense and I'll help you with that. So reach out to me. We'll do PF Sense together. We'll make a video on it. Matter of fact, I kind of want to do some more testing with this little box. I got this, and these are pretty cool. Patrick from Serve the Home has reviewed these, the R65s. This has got two 10 gig switches. I mean, this thing's pretty spiffy. I'm gonna I just got this the other day. I'll be reviewing it soon. +1 for home media. That's the bug that got me started. I need something between pfSense and modems so that pfSense can share with both modems. Dumb switches work fine. I mean, I've done that more than once where you just put a dumb switch. Like if you have to have multiple pfSenses, the nice thing about a dumb switch, you never have to worry about it being misconfigured because there's no management to configure on it. Nextcloud's a pretty popular one too. If you're wanting to manage all your own documents and have that under your control, Nextcloud is definitely a great home lab project. We use pfSense running on Proxmox, have Win10 VM running. Use Win10, no need for VPN. There's always a need for VPN. I don't know if a Zima board would be good for the Plex server. It might not be quite fast enough for that. I guess it depends. I mean, I'm sure the Zima board would run a 1080. I don't know if the Zima board would run a 4K stream. I love the Apple TV. I run iTunes and old Mac Mini. Was given free. Works well with Apple TVs and more. Yeah, I think you can view on Apple. It's been years since I looked at the Apple TV, but a lot of them will actually view MB and Plex and things like that. I actually use MB for my media, and I stream it to a Google Chromecast. Works fine. Yes, let's talk some PF Sense. For home media center with 5.1 Dolby Atmos, you either buy physical media or host on a server. They stopped selling physical media now too, so not many options for users. Yeah, you can run PF Sense on a Zima board. Yes. Oh, or were you asking this device? Yes, on this device as well. I mean, I haven't loaded it, but I feel confident this will run pfSense perfectly fine. I'm really interested in UniFi stuff that is coming out without having the need to get a Dream Machine Pro. Wasn't a Plex server the downfall of LastPass? A Plex server publicly exposed to the internet was the downfall of LastPass. Yes. Don't publicly expose your Plex. Can't get OpenVPN to work with a WAN IP, but works with the WAN address. It sounds like a firewall rule problem is my guess. Anything wrong with running pfSense with a PC? Not at all. pfSense will run fine on a PC. The usual downside to it is just the higher power draw and the fact that it's bigger. But that's not necessary. If that's not a problem for you, like, hey, it doesn't use too many watts, and hey, I have room for this, then sorry, yeah, yawning a bit. Then it's not really a big deal. Massive fight with OpenVPN and CGNet. Yeah, you're not going to solve the OpenVPN CGNet problem if your upstream provider is doing CGNet and they don't give you access. That's where it stops. Starting Discovery. Oh, Discovery with the wife. Good stream. Watch tomorrow while I slog through the on-call. Have fun. Would switching to IoT WAP channel from 20 to 40, only 20, give better range and connectivity, cheap IoT devices like light switches? That's going to be varied. Probably going to the narrower may help them as long as they support it. The narrower ones, because they don't need bandwidth, they need connectivity. Also, for note, for those wondering, let me pull this up real quick. I went all Z-Wave with all my lights. And by going with Z-Wave, I avoid all the trying to get lights connected to Wi-Fi. So all these controls for all these lights around my house and light switches, they're all either Zigbee or Z-Wave. I've got a mix of them, but that's all facilitated with like one adapter in my Home Assistant. Yeah, this right here, man. Because this is an extra one, definitely makes my life easier. I think I have pfSense VLAN set up with my UniFi switches, but port forwarding is not working. It is worth noting pfSense newbie, regular place to see esoteric pfSense questions. The Netgate forums are good. There's a lot of information on forums. I have videos on how to do port forwarding. There's also people posting in my forums. Start with the pfSense forums if it's just pfSense questions, though. Home Assistant, you want a family be annoyed when they can't turn lights on and off when the server's down. Yeah, that's the thing. I got a Projectelli, was only going to use it. Well, I was going to use it, but it only has 2.5 gig. Well, yeah, you're going to need something with 10 gig. So you're probably going to need something more like this. I'm on pfSense 252, but when I go to upgrade 2.6, it just sits initializing. Are pfSense blocking upgrades? No, I don't really know why, but you're trying to jump. It should go to 2.6, then 7. I don't think you can go from 2.5.2 to 2.7. The other option is just reload it and back up your config, reload it, and restore the config. And it may be something might be broken, or it's not grabbing the updates from the update server. You have to dig around in the back end to do the package updates. There's forum posts they have on this topic where sometimes packages get out of sync and you have to reinitialize them, or you could just download 2.7 and use your config from your 2.5.2 and get it going. I have a 7100 this week. I picked up for $300. That's a good price. What hardware should I get to the ultimate pfSense setup? We'll talk on that. But yes, we'll talk about some different hardware options. If you wait, I'll even let you know how this performs with pfSense. I'm gonna load it on here, and this might be a fun one to buy if you're looking for something kind of novel. I'll check how it performs pretty soon. This is actually a cool little box because you got, the 3 ports here, 2 10 gig ports. They also have a 25 gig version of this box. So if you're wanting to try it on non-Netgate hardware, my recommendation for businesses is always go Netgate hardware. That's what we use because it just works and it comes with pfSense Plus and it's great. But for for home users and people that want to tinker all the time, these different little boxes are pretty solid, or even some of the stuff from Protectelli is not bad either. It depends on how much data the syslog server is ingesting. So if you build a Graylog server for syslog, and you're sending it a massive amount of data, well, then you're going to need a massive amount of storage and a massive amount of compute. It's a hard thing to measure because unless you really know just how many logs you're sending, it's you want to really overshoot because you don't want to underplan the resources, but you want to make sure that you have enough resources to, make it work properly. I forget how big ours is right now, so let me pull up. It doesn't really use too much CPU on a day to day, but if I start querying this, it does. But like the disk, um, here's the network throughput on it. It's pretty steady, you know, network traffic that's going on here. We've got like 12, what do we got here? 16 cores, 16 gigs of RAM, and it's using it to just track all the stuff at my office. And if we do this, I'm just going to open up another window and log in a Graylog. I'm going to do a search for the last 7 days. Now let's try to find something. Huh, not bad. Let's change it to 30 days. What you're going to see slowly here is it starts picking up. So it's not too bad, but it's also this is a pretty fast system. This is a really fast Ryzen system, but you know, what did we jump up to? About 17% CPU usage. It's a hard thing to scale the Graylog servers to make sure you do it. I overshot. This is faster than we need, but I'm not unhappy because I was just able to parse through a few 100,000 logs pretty quickly. That's always the beauty is how fast you can burn through logging information. Matter of fact, I'll switch over to like this. Let's filter it down to something else. Or something fun. Maybe TrueNAS. Like looking at here, this is 386,000 logs on that day. So 280,000, 137,000. I'm able to index these relatively quick. Let's try and pull something in there. Where's something interesting? Let's see, Trinity, SMBD. I'm trying to find something specific that I can like parse out of here. Add to query. Yeah, I'm able to bring these queries. You can see how fast that works inside of here, and I'm doing this all through a 30-day lookup. So take that one back out. Query back for 30 days of Zen server logs. So it's relatively fast. The XG7100 is a little odd the way it handles the switching. I'm not a fan of it. I'm glad they don't do that anymore. Do you recommend Synology Active Directory? Not really, just because you run into some support problems with it. I guess for home use, it's probably fine. I'm not sold on using it in a business application because if you run some compatibility problems with it, like I think if you're just managing a handful of computers at your home, that works. But now you're trying to do a larger business integration. I know there's going to be some limitations to how it works versus how full Active Directory works. So think about your use case. I wouldn't try to sell this to a customer that also needs it to integrate into their other line of business applications that need Active Directory support. But for home user, yeah, I think it's great. Sorry about any topic. Sorry for not asking any topic at PFSense. What are your thoughts on ZenTL and alternative firewalls? I just did a video on, not video, podcast. So if you check out our podcast, we had a big discussion on all the firewalls, and they're all gone these days. Let me look. I think I had ZenTL in there. I made a lot of notes for this. So where did I put my notes? There we go. Is ZenTL in there? Is that one of the one? Yes. That project seems to have not had an update since 2021. So I think it's neat, but I think it's another dead project. That was my whole problem with the whole e- everything about it. Really, um, was how all these different companies present. Share screen. Let me find my. How can I make these notes bigger? If you're wondering how I do notes, everything's in Markdown for me. Um, anyways, there's a bunch of firewalls I talked about, and they're all these same notes are actually dumped into that podcast. It's a live stream on my channel. It was the last Homeland episode, but yeah, all the firewall projects, so many of them are just gone now, and Zentil is kind of one of them as well. Some ISP will allow you to request to remove from CGNet and get a public IP free of charge. It's going to vary by ISP, that's for sure. Hello from Roseville. So hello, I'm assuming you mean Roseville, Michigan. So awesome. I should reach out to some of them. I don't know them all that well, but I'm fine with doing I like doing collabs. It's always here's the part that kind of puzzles me. It seems like I have to reach out more often, but then I forget. And maybe they have the same problem. They don't think about it either. So I don't mind. I randomly guest on other podcasts, but maybe I did sort of thank you for a reminder for reaching out that I should reach out to them. When would you recommend OpenSense instead of pfSense? I don't, especially because, and been since release. I've talked about this a lot recently, and people are not happy with me bringing this up. Where is there? Where do you find the release notes for OpenSense? Anyways, blog. There we go. One of my challenges right now with OpenSense is really big. OpenSense does not have a path. They have not disclosed how they plan to do this. Get to the supported version of OpenSSL. They're running a dated, unsupported version of OpenSSL. That's a big security problem. So I can't recommend something that's using deprecated OpenSSL. That is, especially if you have a path where you're like, oh, we're going to fix it next week or 2 weeks from now or something, but not when there's not a path. So that's a big problem right now, in my opinion. What's a good router AP beginner Homelab project? That's hard to say. I think PF Sense is good for the reason it is a complicated project, but there's enough documentation out there and it will up your networking skills and knowledge getting there. I'm wondering what PF Sense port forwarding issues could be hardware related. Is this an official place that supports SFP NICs? I don't know of any hardware related problems to port forwarding. What is the name of that little black box? That's a good question. Here, let me do this. Serve the home what is it called? It says 86S. I will pull up the serve the home article because it doesn't have an easy name. So let me present, share screen. This is the box. So R86 low power and 10 gig networking. It's cool. You can find it. It's just I'll drop the serve the home article in the chat here. But yeah, it's a cool box for sure. But the other side of it is, of course, that it doesn't have easy naming to find. And I think it's only available through like AliExpress. Learning as I go. I also set up Nextcloud. I can access files and TrueNAS servers as well. Looks like it wants to store files on my smaller drive. I've installed for setup app files. I'm not thrilled with the implementation of TrueNAS's version of Nextcloud. So yeah, it can be tricky to set up. I think I did a video on it recently. Did you install a Citrix management agent on your new VM yet? I will. And if you're asking about what I was doing earlier with this, I'll do that. I have a Windows VM that already has it installed. I don't use Synology AD for the Homelab. There are a lot of other tools and applications that require a Windows AD integration. Skill managing ADDS is something I need for business. And why do you think so many firewall projects go on? Just curious. And don't worry if you don't have an exact answer. Well, that's what I discussed. So one of the challenges is how to keep these build them as a business that operates. The only long time runner of an open source firewall right now is really Netgate with pfSense. They're the only ones really pushing forward to keep it going. It's just not happening anywhere else. The challenges of running a firewall is a lot here in 2023. There's just a lot of things that have to go into it, a lot of managing, a lot of updates, and how do you build a business around it? Because the people that get aggravated every time, and granted, Netgate does make some dumb community decisions, but the other side of it is without Netgate, you don't really get a lot of these updates that come with free BSD and everything else. OpenSense is an easy example of they pull from what Netgate does upstream. And how do you keep this going forward? How do you, build this as a business doing open source? If everyone just wants a free firewall and you can't figure out a way to pay the bills, you will go work on another project. And that's what's happened pretty much with all these other firewalls. Is best I can tell, the project maintainers just kind of dropped them. So it becomes a real challenge trying to figure out how to put a business model around it. I still think a Lenovo MQ720 is a better option versus the R6, and I agree. I think the Lenovo boxes are really nice. Have you ever configured a router using vanilla Linux and Firewall D and Network D? I mean, yes, years ago, I wouldn't run that in production. I mean, just because I know how to get it working, it's tedious and it's not it's not something you can't do. It's not something that everyone can do. It's there's a reason that not everybody writes things in assembly because it's easier to build things with these frameworks and programming languages. Same thing goes for firewalls. Just because there is possible to completely manually build a firewall in Linux doesn't mean that it's something I will do a video on, because most people just want to use a web interface to get things done because it makes it a little easier. Please do an MB video. I'm just not that expert at MB. I mean, I use it. It works. I don't have any problems with it. It seems pretty straightforward. I've had trouble making it work on TrueNAS. There's a reason MB is on my Synology because it didn't work right in TrueNAS. I haven't tried it in TrueNAS again lately. Maybe I'll do an MB Synology video because that's how I use it. I mounted TrueNAS NFS share into the Nextcloud data storage, then you can share it out as SMB, but don't edit via SMB. It'll confuse Nextcloud. Yes. What would be a good server to build running TrueNAS, Proxmox, or XCP&G? What would be a good server build? That's a better forum question because there's a lot of questions about, do you have the budget for new servers, old servers, used servers, these little mini servers, or these little Ace Magic boxes that I've been playing with. This is what I've been loading stuff on right now. This is another Ace Magic box that I've got loaded up on here. So there's not an easy answer. There's not like a cookie cutter one, but I will admit all these inexpensive like Ace Magic and all these weird Top 10 and Kotam and Technicalities are making some pretty inexpensive servers that can get you started. Zima board is awesome. Zima board is definitely one I think is just, they've been killing it. It needs a lot of money to make open source secure, especially for a security appliance. If your project doesn't have a lot of users, no one would trust your project either. It takes a long time to build the trust. What is the best way to use Ansible on Windows to manage Linux hosts? That's a fun question. I would say use the Windows subsystem for Linux. That seems like the best way to do it. I don't know many people who do that. and have Ansible on there, but I don't see any reason it wouldn't work to build your Ansible playbooks and everything and then push them out to Linux and systems. So are you doing the $12 per user, Blumera? I don't know. I'd have to look at I don't look at our billing anymore since we merged. I'll be straight up honest. We switched a lot of stuff when we merged, and I don't pay the bills anymore, which I know it's a lame answer, but man, I'm happy not to look at that anymore. Have you ever worked with Red Hat servers? If your answer is yes, what kind of projects have you worked with in Red Hat servers? I'll support whatever server. So if we have a client that has something that runs Red Hat, like there's some line of business applications clients have that happen to run on Red Hat, but I'm not the biggest, I don't go out of my way to do anything with Red Hat. Pretty much I'm a Debian guy. So for Homelabs, depends on how much you can get away with before the wife husband says, yo, how many servers do you need? That's a whole nother, you can't blow the family budget on there. This is one of the reasons. So the real reason Tom has a business is so he can just play with unlimited hardware and everything else, because that's, I just like playing with this stuff all the time. I love what I do, fixing all the computers and building things for clients. So that's really why I run a business, so I can keep doing this all the time. Do you think TP-Link Omada is a solid system for a medium-sized business? And the answer to that is no. I got to bring Eric on because he has some thoughts. The more we've run into the Omada stuff, the more buggy we have found it. And I would say it's quirky and buggy, and we've just had to reset the devices to get them to work properly. So my confidence in them is pretty low right now for them making a quality product. I recommend your servers run Raspberry Pi Zero if you have a tight budget. Yes. Definitely, if you got the budget, man, these little Raspberry Pis are fun. I mean, you got to have this stuff at the ready because somewhere I've lost it now. Oh, there it is. This is an e-ink display. Hold on, let me get the camera to focus on it. This is one of my, before I switched to a different box, back when I only had like 200,000 subscribers, this was all part of an e-ink display kit I set up. I built that. That is not a, I should show that on here in a moment. How many servers do I need? Yes. Absolutely. Something we'll do here. Let me see if I can make this work right now. Hold on. Does it? Yes, it's up and running. All right, we're gonna do something fun for the screen here. You know what? I gotta go unplug something, so I'll be right back in a second, and then we're gonna play with the screen update real quick. So I have a little be right back thing that shows up, I think. Can I get this to work? Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's see. My Pi Zero runs off battery and solar. Absolutely. I have this. So let's a little show and tell, right? Nice break music. Yeah. Hacking the network. And I wanted something really cheesy for the graphics on there. Is this Q&A from the YouTube chat? Absolutely. But this right here, this is e-ink. And this is run by a, hold on till I'll drop it. This is also my Raspberry Pi Zero project, and it's got a battery backup. This is just a battery, little battery device. I keep it plugged in behind me, but whoa, crap. The Velcro popped off. Hold on. Let me stick the Velcro back on. I should put this together with more quality. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. Here we go. So it's up and running right now. What we're going to do is show you what it looks like when I'm running on, I'm trying to type and hold this. There we go. You're actually going to watch it get updated. I know this is gripping stuff. So it's going to start erasing the screen. This is, yeah, bear with me. This is Raspberry Pi Zero, so this takes a little bit of time. There we go. Why did it unfocus? There we go. Oh, because it doesn't know what to focus on. Now it's updating. Come on, stop hunting. It doesn't like the blank screen. Keep my fingers in there. Camera didn't like that. And now we're starting to draw the screen again. Come on, screen. It needs an edge to focus on. These e-ink screens are cool, but they update so slow. There we go. 306,000 subscribers now. And it's got to finish blending all this in. There we go. That's kind of cool. And now it says 306,000. Yeah, this updates, just sits back here. Plug it back in so it stays charged. That's what sits behind me. It looks like the digital license plates. You're not wrong. It's novel. I think it's pretty cool. E-ink is so neat to me because this other, it's not, I mean, this has not been turned on. This is so old. This is back when I only had 200,000 subscribers. I mean, this is not plugged in, but because the way e-ink works, you push the data to the pixels and it stays like that until you refresh it again. It's just novel. I love how those things work. Does anyone have a NAS? Does Synology have NAS plus a trunking option for their NIC? I don't know if they do trunking on there. Pretty much they have some VLAN support on there. So you can do VLANs, but I don't think it's great. I usually just put multiple NICs in a Synology and put one leg on each network. pfSense on a quad 2.5 gig mini PC. I definitely think that would work. Is that a dub plate behind you? That is actually, you know what? Let me this is a question that actually comes up a lot. I should talk about this at some point. This is just a, I did that because now it will easily show up when I go to photos over here. Come on, upload. Backing up, one item left. As soon as this uploads. Any recommendations for 2.5 gig 4-port router, or just build pfSense with a dual 2.5 gig PCIe? I mean, I prefer the Netgate hardware, but I mean, I haven't really tested it much on the non-Netgate. So I don't know which ones are good with the 2.5 gigs, but it should work with a few of them. But this behind me is just a thing from Huntress. My friends there did this. This is when they reached their 2 million, hunting the few to protect the many. And yeah, that's what's behind me right here. So it's a silver record behind me, kind of like an award. It's a platinum record for reaching 2 million endpoints with my friends over at Huntress. I was among the early people using Huntress, and I've been a long-time friend and supporter. I've known Kyle now for several years, the CEO of Huntress. I know a lot of their people there. Always great people to talk to, great interactions. And but they sent that to a few of us who were their early adopters. Yeah, Huntress is just awesome. Just really enjoy them. Really like them. Throw your questions in because I am going to wind this down in probably another 10 or 15 minutes. What happens if you play it backwards? You get infected. It's nothing but viruses on there. I don't really know what's on the record, to be honest with you. I know someone did try to play it and did say something was on it, but I don't remember what. Our platinum record, I don't know. I don't want to take it apart because it's so nice. Like, that is really a nice thing. I like it a lot. So I am. It's been great working with that team. Is better since the merger? Is that, I assume you're asking a question, and yes, we're 90 days past me merging my tech side of my company with CNWR, and I'm absolutely happy. I'm absolutely happy. If I have the UniFi Flex XG switch, do I need something like the Dream Machine Pro to connect to it, or is it the only switch I have? I don't know how to connect to it. You need to manage it with the UniFi controller software, which can run in a Dream Machine, or you can run it independently. So the UniFi platforms, the UniFi switches all need the controller software, whether you run it yourself on a Linux or Windows computer, or whether you run it in a cloud key or run it in a Dream Machine. That's how you manage them. Sentinel-1 versus Huntress. It's not really Sentinel-1. For us, it's Sentinel-1 and Huntress. So the Sentinel-1 is good, but I think Huntress is better. I don't know. It's still an and for us. Could there be a future where we only run Huntress? That is certainly a possibility. What am I drinking? This will surprise some people probably. I don't know. I found this in my basement. I don't even know how I got this. So if those of you wondering what I started drinking, it's that. Do you have any experience with diskless boot systems? I haven't used one of those diskless boot systems in 10 years. I used to use I wonder if it still exists. The Fog Project. Forever. I'm looking up to see if this is even still a thing. We'd actually built this for a school system for free. I don't know when the last update was of this project. It was called the Fog Project, so you could do booting and imaging of systems over Pixie Boot. Oh yeah, so Fog Project is March 5th of 2023. So yeah, they're still current. What security system do you recommend for home? I'm huge on the Synology system. I think they are great. I am really happy with Synology. Let me pull it up. Yeah, I've talked a lot about the Synology system. It's just it's kind of been my go-to for a while. They just work so well. Is there a way to sort? Usually, if you want uh, Snort or Suricata to notify you, you want to ship it to a log server, aggregate it there, and build your triggers and alerts. That's the best way to do that. What are the selling points and perks of getting a cloud key versus self-hosted controller? Not having to run the self-hosted controller, which not really a huge selling up point. Convenience, like if I have a customer that goes, I don't want to stand up an extra server for this, cloud key for as inexpensive as they are, I think they're a good solution. But if you already have a virtualization stack or somewhere to run it, I'm just going to go with running the controller itself. If you're an IT guy at a large nonprofit, what would the setup look like for security, firewalls, 50/50 Apple Windows? I mean, PF Sense, and then I would load application. I wouldn't try to do filtering at the firewall. It's just too much of a headache. Oh, why is my Synology stuck? Maybe it needs to be rebooted. Usually my Synology works fine. Let's reboot this thing. Weird. Oh, it's got a package update. What does it want to update? Oh, yeah, sure. We'll say yes. Foggers. Distance boot run off systems off run image. Okay, I didn't understand the question you're asking. Yeah, I don't have much experience with those. How many APs and switches can a Dream Machine support? Probably a large number of them. My friend built a bunch of diskless Raspberry Pis. I thought that was a really neat project. I don't know why he did it. I think he did it for the fun of it. So yes. Hey, thanks so much for dedicating the time to chat with us. Absolutely. I love doing this. I love helping the community. And this is just a fun way to do it. Like live streams, they're just great. Oh, well, my Synology is like telling me it's not going to update. Or maybe it did. Oh, it did update. Whatever. I'm rebooting it. Well, I guess I'll try surveillance station one more time. Does it work? Or is it stuck still? This is weird. It's the first time it's ever done this. I know it's working because if I look at my if I switch over to this, it's still got images. It's still sending notices. It's just not pulling up on the screen right now. No, we'll just reboot it. Why not? Restart. I don't know when last time this thing was restarted is. We'll just reboot it while we're live. The issue is the network's too slow, storage are too cheap. No real reason for diskless nowadays, unless VDI. Yeah, I don't think there's a big demand for it. I use the HP ProLint DL3D G8. Lilo uses Java since they updated. How can I access deprecated old Java web pages? There's no easy answer for that one. There's some tools out there that like you can find some old Java to be able to connect to it, but it's not a secure thing. So I don't have an easy answer on that one. Trying to connect OpenSense and pfSense of WireGuard site to site. I don't know. I've never tried to connect those two together. S1 flags active backup as yes. S1 flags QuickBooks as malware. S1 flags lots of backup tools as malware. S1 has Sentinel-1 has lots of false positives. Can I connect my mini PC router to the uplink port on my Flex XG? I don't see why not. The port on my mini PC is 1 gig and the uplink Flex is 1G. The other 4 ports on XE or 10G bottleneck concerns. You can't go faster than the slowest link. So you can't you the other devices will be able to go at the higher link, but you can't get any more data to it than the slowest link within that chain. So each hop. But I mean, they connect. You can certainly connect them. I have 1 gig links in my 10 gig network sometimes because not everything on there's 10 gig. That is the problem with Dell and iDRAX modifying the Java security files. Yes. Really enjoyed the talks about pfSense. Awesome. So hopefully I'm clear now. I mean, you can mix them if you just switch it down to the lower speed. This thing's taking a long time to reboot. We should look at something more interesting than watching that reboot. What was I working on when I started all this silliness? Hey, look, I can sign into my Synology again. And it's spinning. It's booting up. Pull up the resource monitor. Well, good. My Synology is healthy. That's good news. And it's working over here in Homelab, or a home assistant, not Homelab. So it's seeing vehicles and notifications again. This has been on my to-do list for a long time to show my Synology integration with my home assistant because it's cool. If it detects not motion, but if it detects a person or vehicle coming around my house, it will actually turn all the lights on. It's got some little things like that, but it's nice that you can build those integrations in with this. All right. Where were we at here? Remove that. We don't need that here. Close this. I have too many windows open. Sorry. I'm just trying to get them all closed. All right. Now I'm less confused. I ran to ask how reliable Synologies are in small, medium business deployment, trying to convince my boss to move $3,000 Windows Server 1 terabyte SMB file share. FYI about Distant Boost, we're going to operate 20 e-gaming center now with fast network speeds and storage speeds that possible run them all in the same image. I don't know how well that would work. Honestly, with hard drives being so cheap, I think you'll create a bottleneck. I mean, you're not going to get the same performance over network as you do with a locally installed NVMe. I mean, you could if you had 100 gig interconnect, but NVMEs are going to outperform this, and NVMEs are cheap, and most computers have them, so you're not going to get the experience. I don't think you'll get the experience you're looking for on it. Frigate and Home Assistant. Yeah, Frigate's kind of cool to integrate into Home Assistant as well, for sure. Oh, that's neat. I did not know that. So apparently most gold and platinum records are actually vinyl records that have been vacuum metallicized and tinted. They usually do include some metal, but not sure if it's gold or platinum. As someone managing 20 plus technologies, I do recommend them for small home office. Just so you know, there is no true custom support to go with, so you have support when there is an issue. They're solid. I'm really happy with Synologies. Have you ever had issues with mounting virtual media and iDRAC? Keep trying to install Linux on a server remotely. The virtual media file is corrupted, but the hash checks out. It's been a while since I've had to do that. So not really sure on that one. It's not often that I'm trying that. So that's a harder question to answer simply out of uh lack of using it, I would say. I don't it's been and it I'm trying to think of last time we had to reload one of the Dell ones with the media on there. Definitely an interesting challenge. See, pull this. Mm, mm, mm. Here we go. Log in a few more things since I rebooted that. How do you get your chat on video? It looks cool. I'm using a tool called StreamYard. Works wonderfully for this. Oh, I found the problem. I goofed a proxy setting, so this is working now. The back to the Synology question, and what camera systems do I use? Do you wear reading or computer glasses? So, as it turns out, I can see things far away. So, if like right now reading the screen, like your words on there, now they're clear. So, as I've gotten older, I hated to admit it, but glasses help me see things that are close to me very, very well. I don't it's when people meet me in person, they realize I don't wander around with my glasses on because I don't need them. I only need them, when I'm looking at things up close. And man, I tell you what, like trying to look at even my phone, like this is me on my phone without my glasses. If you see me doing this, where my phone's way out in front of me, that's how I read it if I don't have my glasses on. My glasses on, it's fine. Upgrading 10G networking, was thinking fiber, but going with Cat 6. Are there 10G switches with RJ45 ports, or do I have to get media converters? So the challenge is, and it's honestly fiber. I have a video called "Put Some DAC in Your Rack." Easy video to remember. Put some DAC in your rack. The advantage of DAC versus fiber even, is lower power usage. When you start using all those converters, they get hot. So that's also because you're converting back and forth, there's a wattage cost and why DAC and fiber both are very popular. So take a look at your use case and make sure the switch you're using will allow for you to use a certain number of them. The switch even may have like 20 SFP ports on there. Will it how many SFPs before it's a problem? Even the MikroTik small 10 gig switch, which I think is a pretty cool switch, the challenge is if you put 4 SFP converters in there, it'll get hot and it has to be able to dissipate that extra wattage it uses. I just saw a specific browser to even access remote manage my old server, and even then Java KVM doesn't work. Yeah, there's some challenges with it. I hate all the old Java stuff. I'm so glad it's going away. What are some good projects using Proxmox and TrueNAS in a Homelab server? Sorry, kind of new. We talked about this earlier, but media is usually what's the first thing that people want to start doing is have control over their media, learning how to set that up, shares, whether it's Plex is probably the most popular. From there, you're going to have MB and Jellyfin, and there's a few others out there. Also, Nextcloud for documents, managing your own media, and specifically when I say media, like documents, not just videos. The Nextcloud is pretty awesome for that. So yeah, those are all good starting points to kind of you'll find a lot of documentation out there to get you started, which is also very helpful. The main species in my PSN router, the main port is 1 gig. I want to use that port to connect to the 1 gig uplink to other Flex SGs, hoping to plug my 10 gig devices to remaining 10G ports. Yeah, that's fine. That'll work perfectly fine. Hello from
Heard they got good chili in Cincinnati. Is that? I don't know. I've tried Skyline chili. It's okay. I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't as excited as I thought I'd be on it. Didn't you do a video a few years ago showing that copper is faster than fiber due to all the conversion between the two? Yes, I did. That's a controversial video. I think you have to measure the speed difference in nanoseconds, but if we're being pedantic here, it's faster. I use Unraid for all my media at home and my Docker containers. Yeah, Unraid's I think a good home server project as well. I don't use Unraid myself, but it's not bad. The power of music, WKRP in Cincinnati, and the infamous turkey drop. So if you know what the WKRP turkey drop incident was, you're probably as old as me. What is the best software for a DIY NAS like a Raspberry Pi for sharing Homelab? I think once you get into the ARM side of things, the options become very limited. I think Open Media Vault, and don't quote me on this for sure, Google this. Open Media Vault, I believe, is the only NAS that I'm aware of that runs on some of the ARM stuff like a Raspberry Pi. Any tutorial videos recommend? There's a lot of them. You just start dropping in there and looking for like how to set up the media servers. I don't do a lot with media servers myself, so I don't have any videos on that topic, but definitely, between my videos, Jeff from Craft Computing, he's got a lot of videos on Homelab gaming stuff. Jeff's videos are great. Jeff Geerling covers a big variety of things. Definitely good. Hardware Haven, check them out too. Also friends of mine. They got good videos on lots of different Homelab projects to get you started. That's probably a good video I should make, is how to get started on a Homelab. Who do you recommend? I have a good friends that I trust that I will tell you their videos are solid and I recommend them. So that's, you got a video topic idea that I want to do. Why would you recommend customers buy Netgate hardware directly rather than being an official reseller? I'm not an official reseller, and I don't see the benefit of being one. For me, the margins are too small, so it isn't really worth my time. Is it possible to monitor from SolarWinds, Dell, Data IQ, and IQs, and since those VMs are VMs and Docker container? I don't know. I don't use the SolarWinds management tools, so I don't know how they break out and monitor some of the Dell stuff. The turkey drop was hilarious. Oh, cool. None of my YouTube friends messaging me. Just want to say thank you. Free exercise, free for everyone. Awesome. Yeah, like I said, this is a lot of fun. When using XOA, which storage share do you prefer to create VMs on? I don't really understand the question, because I mean, it's probably just going to be like, for example, I'm gonna pull one up real quick. I mean, I'm creating VMs on the local storage because I don't have shared storage on this one. Oops, I spilled stuff. If I go over here, I'll share this tab now. This does have a bunch of shared storage. So it really depends on, I create them wherever it's advantageous to create them. I don't know how else to describe it, because you want to put them wherever the shared storage is. Well, usually shared, but maybe you have fast local storage, so you put them on that. Or you're talking specifically XOA, I put that on local storage. That way, if I have to troubleshoot my remote storage, I have a way to troubleshoot it. Hi, Tom. Love your videos. Awesome. Thank you for stopping by. Christian Lempa. There's another friend of mine, friend of the channel, I call him. There's a lot of different people I know from YouTube, but definitely Christian Lempa's got great videos on getting started with Docker and lots of other things too. But his latest Docker videos, I believe, are pretty good. He covers a lot of good projects. He's super smart. Ever set up SMP monitoring Zabbix? I do not. I have not. It was on my to-do list and never got around to doing it. I don't use the hotspot. So is there a way to capture emails with UniFi hotspot to guest networks, please? No, I'm not something I set up and not something I even recommend. I had a customer. I'll tell a story about this. We told this person wanted to try to capture emails. And I said, you're wasting your time trying to capture emails with your Wi-Fi hotspot. It's not that effective. If you're doing it for marketing purposes, you're actually going to be better off doing something like doing Facebook to try to capture the leads and doing retargeted advertising. We kind of got into that topic, but people who try to do it in a hotspot, every time I've seen someone do it, when they make someone require an email to register for a hotspot, their usage of the hotspot goes to almost zero. And they get a bunch of unusual emails that are always, some weird Yahoo address. And it just fills up with spam. Like no one wants to give their email address out. And the people who do, they give you their junk email account. I've never found to be effective marketing for hotspots. Plus everyone's got, internet on their phone. So they're like, oh, I have to register my email. Nah, my 5G is fine. Mark here from Australia. I just want to say a huge thank you for all your videos, especially PF Sense setups. I've gone from hardware router PF Sense. Your videos taught me a lot. That is awesome. I'm glad you got it all running. Have fun in the land down under. Planning to get a Netgear 4100 for $600. Is there similar hardware that's cheaper for PF Sense? Yeah. So here's the thing. Could you find one of these Protect Tele boxes for cheaper? Yes. Does that help support the PF Sense project? Not really. But if you go with PF Sense Plus, yes, it does again, because PF Sense Plus, they have a price tag on it of $129 a year. So yeah, if you want to go like a Protect Tele box, those are out there. Or you can just buy the Netgate box. And you have to think about total cost of ownership. So you pay whatever you pay for a Netgate device, but the license is for the life of the device, not annual. There's no license fee if you buy a Netgate box. If you want to use PF Sense Plus on a Protect Tele box, you pay the fee every year. Is there a performance between NFS or iSCSI? It depends on the back end. So Synology does a little bit better. If you have a Synology box, iSCSI is slightly faster. Last time I tested it, not much, just a little bit faster with iSCSI over NFS. With TrueNAS, they're really neck and neck. There's a couple workloads that you have some variations on, but TrueNAS is really fast with both. NFS is portable. Performance depends on the storage. Yeah, I like NFS a lot better. I personally use NFS. Yeah, don't spill your drink on your keyboard. Too late, my friend. I noticed there's more acceptable to the Homelab community in regards to running PF Sense on Proxmox. Is that horrible, even for small home setup? I don't have any problem with it. I think PF Sense on Proxmox works fine, but now you've added two issues. You've got a hypervisor with virtualization and PF Sense. Depending on your skill level, I don't recommend this as the first thing you learn unless you want to have a trial by fire to learn something more complicated. At my house, I made my own internet with MakerTik and a couple of Ubiquiti point-to-point access, self-hosted controller with HA proxy and PF Sense. Awesome. Yep, 4100 comes with PF Sense Plus for the life of the device. What am I drinking tonight? Gin. I'm also spilling it tonight. I use Wake on LAN for my server machines. I made Wake on LAN from the BIOS enabled and correct C states. Still doesn't work. What else can I check? I don't know. I've not had it not work, but most of my machines are. Well, no, I can't think of. No, I only have. Actually, now I think about it, the Windows machines work fine. So I haven't had any problems with Wake on LAN. So I'm not sure. I'm not the best at troubleshooting it because anytime I've set it up, I actually have and we'll pull this up real quick. This little button here for the studio computer where it says studio computer right here.
that's a wake on LAN. That just wakes up a Windows box. That's one of the example ones I have, but it works fine. So I'm not good at troubleshooting it because I've never had it not work. Using TrueNAS Samba shares to Windows workstations, looking to upgrade the networking for one. Is there a better solution for speed to share the drive iSCSI? Samba and iSCSI are completely different things. So I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to do. They're very different in how they work. What would be a good idea to allow the user to update LDAP or radius, passwords, or custom portal? I don't like when users update their password like that. Usually I do it through Active Directory. So, I mean, users are not going to have, unless you put a nice web interface on LDAP or radius, it's not going to be easy. Virtualizing a router sucks when you break things and have no internet to research the things that you broke. Yes, you're not wrong about that at all. That is a true statement. So isn't the concept of studying or troubleshooting a task within itself what speeds up the learning process? It depends. It depends on your determination. For some people, it speeds up the aggravation process. That's why I always say it's up to you. But if you want to virtualize something as your first project, it will be a more demanding project than other first projects. Some people struggle with getting a firewall set up. If you slap virtualization in the mix, now you've created more potential problems. I'm like that. I like those things. I like complicated things. I can't always speak for everybody else. Some people, I never want people to get discouraged is my goal. I like them to have some sense of accomplishment. So it's hard because I've got people in here that I know work for large enterprise organizations, and I got people in here going, where's my first project? So I can't just assume the audience because I seem to attract the audience of all over, which is awesome. I love talking to all of you. But it's always trying to narrow that down. What's the right answer for the person asking? So you have it all working, and that's what matters. PF Sense CARP video. I have HA videos on it. Is there anything wrong with the HA videos that I have? I'm assuming you mean CARP with the failover. Which service would you subscribe to regularly back up your Synology NAS via hyper backup for personal use? If you don't have an offsite system to do, like personally, like for me, I have now 3 buildings. So I have 3 locations I can back up to. C2 is my go-to answer for the other ones. So I think C2 is really solid. And yes, definitely. Definitely the C2 backup Synology. Their pricing is good. They do encryption before send, so you don't have to worry about the cloud and the security of it. Jay's book on Linux is pretty good. One of the best resource books you recommend for Linux to get started with Linux. Jay is he's a good writer. There's a reason his book is pretty popular. Jay from Learn Linux TV. So if you go to Learn Linux TV, 1, tons of tutorials on his YouTube channel. 2, Jay has numerous revisions of the books. Also, really good books just in general on tech for specific things. Like Mastery of SSH, Mastery of SNMP. Michael Lucas has some really good books too. That's Michael Lucas and SSH Mastery. Always recommend that one to a lot of people. I don't want my firewall router to go down every time I screw something up on the server. And this is a challenge when people put their firewalls inside their virtualization stack, is they sometimes will delay patching their virtualization system because they don't want to disrupt their firewall. So you don't want to be in that situation either. I don't know that I'd recommend people starting out with ChatGPT. It's kind of just good sometimes to read a book on it. One of my challenges is I don't read a lot of beginner books because my beginning to Linux started all the way in 1996 or 97. So like
I was there in the beginning, so I don't read as many beginner books, but there's probably some good ones out there. I know Jay's a good writer, so he's got some good stuff. Yeah, ChatGPT is great. Quick thought about thin client VMs for VMs on Proxmox. I don't understand what the question is. Thin client virtual machines for Proxmox. You want to run Windows on there? I'm not understanding what you're asking, but uh, let's see. I have a question for Tom. Is there a way PF Sense they have two WAN connections for load balancing complete fail without losing connectivity for VoIP? No, there is not an SD-WAN solution to solve the VoIP problem. I have a video on that topic already, but too long didn't watch. No. SD-WAN is what solves that, where you bond connections together, but then you're bonding them together up to, let's say, a data center. This will allow your VoIP stream, to not have to swap IPs if there's a failover between ISPs. So your states will drop if the ISP switches, and you will have to reconnect your voice. This is just a problem. Thin clients to Windows VMs. I got no thought on that because I don't use that. Just picked up a MikroTik 10 gig 200 Have you had the opportunity to look at it? So any thoughts? Is that the one that Jeff from Craft Computing reviewed? I watched his review of it. I don't have one. I think it seems like a good price switch. Last company I worked for ditched thin clients for standalone PC. Hardware is cheaper than maintaining VMs. Yes. I don't, thin clients is a band-aid on a problem, but it's an expensive solution, and hardware is so cheap now. I don't see it long term. It's kind of like we need this solution for now because it solves this problem, but it's not. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to wind this down here because I'm going to go chill out and watch some TV, or more so, I'll probably just watch YouTube. Got a good experience with Netgate support. They are really helping and considerate. Yeah, the support team at Netgate's really good. We've rarely needed them for anything, but the general feedback has always been very, very positive for people. I mean, we've had the RMA things. We've had a device go bad, and they were easy to deal with there. We don't really need much support for the software, though. What would you recommend for hardware for SD-WAN? Well, SD-WAN's a software solution, not a hardware solution. I mean, there's all the major companies have SD-WAN solutions. I haven't really sat down and evaluated them. I'm not a huge fan of them usually because they're expensive, and I mean, they're nice to do seamless failover, but failover is not. It's like one of those things. Like, should I go spend $300, $400 extra a month on a service so I have seamless failover that doesn't happen very often? It's not something that comes up a lot. Equalizer 3. You know, Denzel Washington. I'm assuming that's the Denzel Washington one. I like him. Those are fun. He's got to pay the licensing tax. Yeah. I have a video about how SD-WAN works because people are often confused about how it works and how it routes traffic. But it's one of those things like because it has to bond these things together and go up to a data center, it's going to have a recurring cost, and it may have its own issues because if there's a problem at that data center, well, so there's a problem with your SD-WAN connection where it pops out. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. This was great. I went just about 2 hours here. So this is a great hanging out with all of you Sunday. If you notice, I was yawning a little in the beginning. I'm probably going to yawn a little more. And I think technically, because of the stupid whatever daylight savings time isn't it actually 10:30? Means it's past my bedtime or something. I don't know. I get more frazzled as the day goes on because I wake up so early. I don't want to get incoherent and babbling and yawning a lot. So I will leave this here. Hit me up in my forums. Great place to get a hold of me. I try to go there every day.
I will see about doing so. I'm going to be at IT Nation, which is an event next week. So if you are going to be at the IT Nation event, hey, say hi to me there. And yeah, I'll figure out all the other fun stuff. Would you avoid using a UDMP? That's not WAN, that's not SD-WAN at all. So that's even more confusing. May all your uptimes be measured in years. Yes, thank you very much. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with me this Sunday evening.